Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Carl from the Victory Lane Vibes podcast. Again, I just want to thank everybody for tuning in and listening to this. This is a project that we've all kind of wanted to do for a long time individually, and then to get jointly once we got on the right track is something we really wanted to do, really were excited for. And so thank you so much for listening. But I do just want to put out there that there are limitations to technology. Obviously, we live in different areas and we are not together recording this podcast. And as such, sometimes those limitations can be very apparent in the recording process. We try to mitigate that as much as we can, but sometimes it's unavoidable. So I would ask that you just be patient with us. This is a growing and a learning process. And again, we thank you so much for giving us a chance to listen and listening to us. This is a project we all are really excited about, and we hope that we are creating content that you want to come back and listen to again. Again, thank you so much.
Need some beats, please. Don't forget the money, man.
As Matt told us earlier, trying to become the first African-American driver since Willie T. Ribbs and join Randy Bethea and the great Wendell Scott.
He did he drove the car exactly what the car wanted him to do. He got out early. It looked like a little tight, but he kept in the throttle and he got a good lap. And wow, way to go! There you go. Woo-hoo. That's it.
These need to be the best 7 laps of Darrell Wallace Jr.'s life.
That was a good first part of it right there.
Turn number 4, Darrell Wallace Jr. is going to get his first win in the Camping World Truck Series. His final time through 3 and 4. He's going to do it. Bubba Wallace wins at Kansas.
What they gonna say now, baby? Let's go!
Record is equals. Lewis Hamilton wins the Turkish Grand Prix and is a 7-time champion of the world.
Get in there, Lewis. What a way to do it, mate. What a way to win your 7th world title.
Welcome everybody to the first episode of the Victory Lane Vibes podcast. We're your hostess with the mostest. My name is Carl, and I'll let everybody else introduce themselves.
I'll go. My name is Avante. But you call me Bonte.
What's up? My name is Arthur. You can call me Art.
And I'm Jared. People just call me Jared.
All right, and then just to familiarize ourselves here a little bit, how long has everybody been a fan?
I go first. Been a fan of NASCAR since 2001. Was pretty off and on with the sport, but got really back on around 2007. Was off and on again, but got back fully on during COVID. But yeah, been NASCAR fan since.
Yeah, I'll go next. I grew up in North Carolina, so I've been following NASCAR pretty much my whole life. I got off it as well, probably around 2010 when I went off to college. And same thing, came back to it when I started watching during COVID and been following week to week since then.
I'd say for myself, I've been a fan for eons. It seems like I have a home track here. I'm from Richmond. Try to go to both the spring and fall race or the spring and summer race as the schedule is now. Been following a couple of drivers, stay with a couple of numbers. Started off as a Dale Jarrett fan and then just evolved from there, just following different people. So yeah, I've been following sport for a bit.
Yeah, and I started watching that I can remember was the '99 season. That's the first season I can remember. So since then, um, I'm Jeff Gordon fan, starting out like all the '90s kids. Transferred that into Casey Kane and Kyle Busch, and now it's Kyle Busch and Bubba Wallace. And just to put this out there for anybody listening, this is a very much so a pro Bubba Wallace podcast. Not that we're delusional, but there certainly will be no Bubba slander on the podcast. So just to let anybody know that they don't get disappointed by it. But yeah, with that being said, it's a great group of individuals. There'll be more people kind of as this goes along. This is in the very early stages of it. We were all really excited to do this. I know when we first started talking about it a couple weeks ago, ideas are flowing off the walls. So this is really cool to finally get the first one knocked out. With that being said, it's Sunday evening. They just wrapped up Sonoma a couple hours ago. I watched a little bit of the race. I was doing stuff throughout the day, so I didn't get to see a whole lot of it. But I tell you what, I will say this. Just talking about the race real quick. It is night and day from Coda, and I don't know if that's just traditional Sonoma, and I just haven't been used to that from forever. Where Sonoma usually has always had really long green run stretches, or what, or this car, or what. But from what I read on the Twitter sphere, people were a little bit bored with it, I guess. And I guess at the stage cautions, there really just was not as much change up front as people would have liked to see, I guess.
Yeah, I'll jump in it. I was able to watch. I started on the TV, ended on my phone. It just seemed like without the stage breaks, the official stage breaks at this course, it really didn't. The race didn't really lend itself to any natural yellows. And it almost seemed like whoever was in first just ran away with it. So I'm glad some calamity happened at the end to tighten the field back up. But on TV, it seemed like, not to knock F1, but it seemed like an F1 race as of late. The leader just ran away from the field until chaos happened.
Yeah, I mean, like, Sonoma has been known to have, long green flag runs, but I feel like a lot of the problems that the next gen car has reared their ugly heads here. It's hard to pass. Tire fall off wasn't there. The one thing I did like was that there were no stage yellows. I'm very anti stage yellow. I'm pro stages, but anti the yellow. Just for the fuel strategy, seeing how that plays out without having an artificial caution. But yeah, it was not an exciting race by any measure, just because, like you said, it was very spread out. Like the leader could just drive away. Not the best Sunday for a NASCAR race.
Yeah, it's very true. It was a bit boring. There was like a few little battles going on, but nothing too really nothing exciting for today's race. Like like y'all said, there is like Sonoma is do got like a lot of green flag runs, but like happy there is no stage caution there after one of the drivers won a stage, so that's I'll get at a plus. But other than that, it's okay.
Yeah, the thing is, with the last two generations of cars, you could really get up next to guys and beat and bang on guys and stuff like that. But as we found out with this combination, this package, for whatever reason, with the gearing and all that stuff, it's just really hard to really run guys down without having to bowl them over. And that's why Austin was so crazy because everybody was bowling everybody else over to make room. But you win
Hmm.
some, you lose some. I'm perfectly content with having a boring race without stage cautions. I'm just the same way as Art. I'm pro stages. The points are cool, but I'm anti stage cautions. It is worn out its welcome long ago. So to see a race play out organically is really nice, and so that's cool. Fortunately and unfortunately, I guess Bubba had a pretty up and down day. Finished 17th, and he started, what was it, 18th or 19th?
18th.
18th. So you can gain one position after all, but I mean, he's not strong at road courses. As strong as he probably wants to be, but he ran all the laps, and that's what matters. So finished better than his owner did, and so I guess we could be thankful for that because from a points perspective, I would have hated to see him had to put it on the truck early like they did last year. So that worked out pretty good.
Yeah, agree, man. Hit ran a clean race. I hated how we lost so many spots. But P17 though, I'll take it. The pick the pit crew did well. Bowie, yeah, gave him late. I like that. So I hope we can fix that going to Chicago free cars. But other than that, the team's cool.
Yeah, I was
Just
surprised because oh sorry, I was surprised that he started off really hot. In the first like two laps, he was I think +4, and I was like, oh man, he's really come to play today. That sim time must have paid off. Tyler Reddick must have paid off, and I don't think he ever got that high again, unless it was maybe during the cycle of green flags. But I was hoping for a top 15. I thought that was a realistic goal. So, like you said, P17, that's a minor win in itself right there.
I think, as a collective, we were just hoping, minimize point damage or maximize, the day, keep the car in one piece and just see where we go from there. So just could we have had like to see more speed? Yeah, but we knew we unloaded. And the car wasn't happy. Bubba wasn't happy with the car, but to still maintain his point advantage, outperform his team owner, outperform his teammate on the road course, which I would say this track definitely doesn't fit. His skill set. I'm happy we did what we did. Now we regroup and get ready for Nashville.
Yeah, that if I had to change one thing about the Cup Series and any series in general, it was I hate that we have these 20-minute practices now. I don't feel like it's advantageous for anybody. Nothing gets solved, and you still have what you have. But yeah, I mean, like I said, it could have been a lot worse, and I'm glad that it wasn't. I know we're all glad that it wasn't. I think we're plus 26 to the cut line right now, so it's good. So if we can get through Nashville with the pace that they had last year, and no pit issues, I think we'll be just looking pretty good. Speaking of Sonoma, this was Chase Elliott's first week back. I think he finished, what was it, fourth?
Hmm.
Okay, fourth. So, I've got a lot of feelings about this. I've thought about it
For
over the
sure.
week. So the biggest thing is, obviously he sat out for a week because him wrecking Denny Hamlin in the 600, and I thought there was immediately a lot of parallels to last year when Bubba Wallace had to sit out. From wrecking Kyle Larson at Las Vegas, and as I said before, we're all Bubba fans, but I think we're all very realistic. I was incredibly embarrassed by that moment. I understood his frustration. I knew why he did it, but I was very embarrassed by that moment, and it was hard to openly, as a race fan, defend him. Now, as a Bubba fan, it was easy, but as a race fan, it was just like, because if anybody else did that to him, I would have been on their head. So I kind of felt a little insulted, and I'm indifferent on Chase Elliott. I don't hate the guy, I don't love him either, but it was a little insulting that there wasn't really any media presence with him as far as apologizing to fans or to Napa or anybody, and he just kind of played it off like it was a free week for him, and I feel like that kind of left a really bad taste in my mouth, and also I'm just kind of curious, now going forward, like because there was so much debate about whether or not this was an egregious deal, whether Denny really meant to do, I'm not Denny, I'm sorry, whether Chase really meant to wreck Denny or not. So I guess my question going forward is, are we just going to drop the suspensions altogether? Because you saw the deal with Cindric and with Austin Dillon and all that stuff. Or are they going to keep doing this, keep suspending guys? Because I really and truly think that because there was almost a 1-to-1 with the Bubba and Kyle Larson wreck and the Chase and Hamlin wreck, they look so similar that NASCAR could point a finger and say, okay, that's a suspension, right? We're going to uphold the standard that we set, but I don't know if that's really going to continue because you could see a lot of guys getting sent out for incidentally turning the guy. I don't know, so I guess we could start talking about hey, about the Chase situation in general and all of that. So whoever wants to lead off with that.
I'll go first. In my opinion, I is acceptable. Same way, fan. So my language, I was an a-hole defending Bubba during the when he intentionally Kyle Larson. You have to realize that that's up, man. You can't as a fan. I'm like, that's that's so it changed my perspective on wrecking at 100 expire. It is a massive no-no, and broke my eyes and woke my eyes up to see the whole Chase Elliott and Denny Hamlin situation. In my opinion, I think they gonna continue doing this because I see why not. You can't wreck nobody going 180 miles per hour. Austin Dillon won Austin Cedric to be suspended. You have to realize that you turn into Austin, you turn on to Austin and think he didn't. So in my opinion, I'll say they gonna continue to suspend the drivers if they continue to intentionally wreck other people.
Yeah, I think they being NASCAR really boxed themselves in a corner with this one. Um, the suspension was really unprecedented. I think that was like the quote Bubba Spire used about it last year and got a bunch of flack for it. And I don't mind someone getting suspended for right hooking someone. I think that's one of those moves that's just so dangerous and it's such a high risk of a serious injury that I'm fine with that being the standard as long as you're consistent with it. Now, I hate that my favorite driver, is the first one to get it, but if you're gonna say that that's what the expectation is moving forward, then you have to keep it up. And I think they realized that with the Chase situation, because it was so similar, and like the Chase fans can be like, "Oh, it's not that close," but you can see the car jerk to the left. It's so similar that they had to hold up to the same standard. And I agree. Like I thought it wasn't a great look, and Chase is the most popular driver. I'm sure it'll blow over for a bunch of folks, but I didn't think it was a great look that he came out and was just like, yeah, I hate it for my guys. I hate that this year's been kind of crazy, but we're gonna just move forward. There was never a real apology. And you saw 2311 came out and had a statement saying they don't condone it. Bo had to come out with this big long statement apologizing to his fans, his sponsors, and it just feels like from the public side he was being held to a much higher standard than Chase, which I don't think is right. But I do want to see them keep this up moving forward because hopefully it will deter drivers from making these kinds of moves.
I
Yeah.
I ain't trying to cut you off, but another point I want to bring up is when Bubba wrecked Kyle Larson back in October. A lot of fans were saying Bubba was oh, he almost killed Kyle Larson, this and that and this. I'm like,
Right.
what?
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I
like
mean,
what? Yeah, go ahead.
so part of the press, and I don't mean to take up all my time. But part of the precedent was we were a few months separated from Kurt Busch getting injured in his car, and obviously that was a big black eye to NASCAR, right? But the other thing that's very obvious, and this is what drove me so crazy, is that people were calling for a permanent suspension and things like that. And again, I can't help but think if it was any other two drivers in the field, that's the situation would have been the same. And I think we all know, everybody knows that, right? But again, I mean, like I said, what was just insane to me, I mean, looking at two situations is they go to Homestead without Bubba, and then the following week they're in Martinsville, and there is a media circus around Bubba Wallace asking him about this event. Everybody, Pockrass, Gluck, NASCAR and NASCAR and NBC, all the social media accounts are all covering, what he's saying. There's cameras on him all weekend and stuff like that. And we've talked about this among ourselves before, that there certainly is a lot of, mining of content from him. But, I mean, there was just none of that through this weekend. The track opened for the Cup guys yesterday. The nine rolled out of their garage stall. There was no fanfare about it whatsoever. And I think that is incredibly egregious and a very bad look on really everybody, for you to not treat it with the same with the same sort of attention, because it was the same thing. I mean, so but that's my take on it, and I'll go back to letting y'all talk about it.
Yeah, and I'll
Yeah,
just to circle back to it. Chase has already missed time this season. To his snowboard injury, and that's time where he's out of his car. He's not representing his sponsor. He's not performing for his team or his team owner. And arguably, most importantly, he's not in the seat earning points for the championship. So he missed time. And then to your point, Art, it was just like, oh well, here I am, I'm back. And I feel like there was no apology to the Napa or to Rick Hendrick or to Jeff Gordon or to Chad Canals under the brass from Hendrick, to his teammates, to Chevrolet. they spent a lot of money to get him where he is. And, like y'all said, he, had a week off in Cabo or wherever he was. He was away from the racetrack, and, he came back in his business as usual. I definitely think that it should be, an eye for an eye if all the media attention is surrounding, Bubba for his right hook incident last week, well, last year, I should say. Why didn't Chase get that? And Fox is normally pro Chase. His face is all over the promotions and everything for the races and the broadcasters. And I certainly thought that they'd have a pull up with him and just do a check in with him to see how things were. If he had any time to reflect on his decision, and there was none of that. So um, definitely agree with NASCAR for suspending him, but shame on NASCAR media for not treating the two situations the same way.
Right, absolutely. And I just want to
Yeah.
take a second. Oh, yeah, that's what I was going to get to. I during the recording, everybody heard it. Somebody else is here with us. We have a sixth member, and I'm going to go ahead and, or I guess it's fifth. There was four of us originally, so now it's five. We have a fifth member that popped in, and going to go ahead and let him introduce himself, and then he can give his join right in with us.
Yeah, my name is Baraka. The Avatar ain't happy. Glad to be here. I saw that you guys were having a Discord meeting, so I decided to hop on since I got nothing to do, and just still kind of hype about Martin Truex's win today. Another Toyota victory. To make up the Lamar Howler earlier today, but we move. And I think I agree with the whole Chase situation. How if it was any other driver, even if the incident with Bubba didn't happen, if it was any other driver, I feel like it would have been a talk. Especially if it was like, let's say, Kyle Busch who did it. People would know the reaction he's gonna garner, and they'll ask him questions after they probably give him a proper suspension. So my frustration is that Chase is being heavily protected. Yes, he's the NASCAR's favorite driver. Every sport has their favorite, but I feel like the transparency to the same situation that Bubba had to go through just doesn't exist with Chase, who probably did something, if not worse. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, it's very blatant. It's very obvious. It's very night and day. About that. And like I said, I'm glad we can talk about it because it is very frustrating. And I mean, and I hope that NASCAR continues the precedent because what was frustrating about the suspension in October is, you had two incidents earlier in 2022 with Ty Gibbs fighting Sam Mayer, with Noah Gragson wrecking the field at Road America, Brad Keselowski and Austin Dillon at New Hampshire, and there's been incidents all throughout the sport's history where somebody's right hooked somebody or somebody's gone up and knocked somebody or pushed somebody around on the track or whatever the case may be. And
Ty Gibbs and Brennan Jones.
right, exactly, right, exactly. And so and the response was not nearly that. So it was like, okay, if NASCAR is going to set the precedent from here on out, if you right hook a guy, you intentionally wreck a guy, then you're sitting out for a week. That's fine. But and Bubba got all the media for it. It was unheard of at the time, or whatever the case may be, and people were really focusing on that. And then it just feels like this time around, it wasn't really a story. I mean, we knew that he was going to be out right after it happened. We pretty much knew. Denny Hamlin was on Twitter within 30 minutes of his wreck and said, "I got S&T right here. You hooked me. Like I said, enjoy the week in Hong Kong, buddy." And and so like I said, but I don't know. I mean, like I said, I just hope NASCAR continues on that path, but it just certainly seems like it just didn't have a big of a wave as it probably should have. But speaking of that suspension, the other big storyline coming from that was Corey LaJoy, Mr. Stacking Pennies himself, got a shot in the 9 car. And I don't know what the bigger story from that is. Was it was the fact that Corey showed up in the 9 and I don't want to say underperformed, but certainly did not run as well as he probably would have run in his own car. So you have to wonder, was it, because those cars are built to how Chase wants to run them instead of how Chase wants to run them. And Corey had no real prep time before then because he runs pretty good in a Hendrick prepared Spire car. So you would have thought that would have translated, but it didn't really translate. I still think Corey is very talented. I think he would do great things in like a junior motorsports car, or even if RCR wanted to expand, right? But I'll tell you what really blew me away from all this, and I hate to eat crow, was Carson Hocevar showing up like that. I'm the number one Carson Hocevar slanderer because I hate the guy. I hate his silly little hats. But I think that he showed up, and in the Xfinity Series too. So maybe the Truck Series just sucks. Now I'm not willing to admit it, but he showed up and showed out till he had that brake issue, and so we can talk about either point of that. But I guess you guys think that you know is Corey going to go any further in his career? Is he at the top of where he's going to go right now? I mean, is this it for him? And what about Hocevar? He said he doesn't have a ride for next year. So I wonder what's going to happen there. And like I said, whoever wants to pick it up first can go ahead and we can talk about it.
So I want to go first, just because I am the opposite spectrum of Corey LaJoy, and I'm not a hater of Corey. Like, I don't know him. Like, I'm sure he's a good dude at home or whatever. But just strictly looking at him as a driver, I don't get where all of these folks come along and say, "Oh, he's so talented. Oh, he just needs a great chance." Like, I fully admit he is not in a top ride. I would never argue that point. Like, he is not an A plus Hendrick ride on a week to week basis. But if you look at this guy, I just don't see where people see him as someone that has all of this potential. So I know we're going to talk about this. So I pulled up his stats. I'm looking at them. In the top three series in NASCAR, Cup, Xfinity, and Trucks, he has 242 starts. He has 0 wins. All of us in this room have as many Cup wins as he does. He has 2 top fives in 242 starts. The last thing he won was in 2013. It was 10 years ago. So I just don't get. Maybe he's very charismatic, and he does great for his work for his sponsors, and that's a place. There's a place for that, and there's value to that. But when you see people come out and they're like, "Oh, he's so talented, he just needs a good shot," I don't see this as a guy who's just way outperforming his equipment. I just see him as a dude who got into NASCAR. Like, he comes from a racing background, and I guess you could say he's a serviceable driver, but like, he's not outperforming his equipment. And yeah, with the situation with Carson, if I'm that 7 car, I'm saying we gotta get this guy up here next year because he was running 16th, like you said, and was doing well, and probably would have had a top 20 finish if he didn't have the brake rotor issues. So I just don't get the hype, or I see other drivers talk about him and say, oh, he's so talented, this and that, but at the end of the day, you have to show some kind of results. And I know there's a lot of pressure on him to perform, and it's in the 9 cars, it's a championship level team. And he just choked it. Like, I'm sorry, but he absolutely choked it. And you could see it during qualifying. He smacks the wall during qualifying. As soon as I saw that, I said, okay, he's not gonna handle it. The pressure's got to him. And again, like, I'm sure he's a great guy, but like, anywhere close to my race team to be a driver if I'm looking to have on track success.
Yeah, just to pick up there, it was kind of mind blowing to see, he's in the Corey's in the 9 and seeing his car pass him. If that was me, I don't know what I would think. I definitely have to rethink my skill set. And I know we mentioned the topic before. NASCAR's limited practice time. That may be a situation where Corey definitely could have benefited from longer than the 20-minute practice session just to get acclimated to the car and the way it's set up. Maybe his seat wasn't right. Maybe he could have had time, to work with Chase's crew chief just to work on their verbiage to see if he can get the car the way he wants to. But shout out to Carson Hocevar, first Cup ride. If it wasn't for the brakes, he was top 15. The way the race played out, he may have even got a top 10. May even got big points in his Cup debut. Definitely looking for somebody to make some noise with him next year. There's a lot of rides open next season. Silly season's getting ready to kick off in a big way, I think. And Corey, he sold. Um, he's definitely, if you all saw uh, I forget the name escapes me, but the NASCAR version of Drive to Survive that was out last year. He made mention on his episode how he pours blood, sweat, and tears into the small little race team. He wishes he had more funding. He wishes he could get a big shot. You jumped in a championship caliber car with a championship caliber team, the team that won the championship last season, and nothing to show for it. Nothing at all. Despicable.
That's despicable. Um, yeah, Carson killed in number 7 car. Top 15 was really what shocked me though. Like I said, if it wasn't for that brake issue, he'll at least probably like a high top 15 during the whole race because he was running exceptionally well. Um, do I think he'll be in Cup? No, not necessarily, but it's possible since Todd Gillen came from trucks to Cup. It could happen. But hopefully he goes to drive for Junior Motorsports next season. For Corey LaJoy, that man is sold.
Um,
Baraka, what do you
Yeah. Okay. Well. Yeah. Just to feed onto that. Yeah. Carson. I'm looking on the sides to seeing his name slowly go up the turning charts and all that. And I'm seeing like there was a clip. I'm just going on Twitter like him passing LaJoy, and it's like the first thought in my head is like, ooh, if that was me, I'm not gonna lie, my pride, I would have just parked it and it's gone over and reevaluate everything of what I've done in my career because LaJoy that entire race he just laid a massive egg. Like he had the opportunity to show up and show out to prove like why he is willing to deserve a shot at a bigger team. Like again, going back to the NASCAR version of DTS. Like he said, it's like he again pours his blood, sweat, and tears into the team, and he just wants to get noticed by the bigger top guns, especially Hendrick Motorsport. Let's be real, every driver would kill to go race under Hendricks,
Mm-hmm.
but that race, I just think the lights got too bright for him, and he just laid a massive egg. And in that turn, until the whole brake issue, which that track had a lot of victims with the whole brake issue. He would have been top 15. Carson would have been top 15. So yeah.
yeah, the brake issue is kind of frustrating. I don't know if anybody really said anything about that as far as officially from NASCAR or anything like that. I mean, if you guys remember a couple years ago, Corey came out and he openly told everybody that he wrote a letter to Rick for him to be, I guess it was the 88, oh, it was a 48, I'm sorry, for him to be in the 48 after John Stout was retiring, and he was at Spire then. No, I'm sorry, he was at Go Fast with Archie St. Clair, whatever that guy's name was, and I scoffed at it then. I scoff at it now. Look, sometimes you have really charismatic dudes who you like. I think Corey is a very charismatic guy. He stands up for what's right, and he speaks on stuff, and that's great. Um, Sometimes you have guys that are in Cup that are talented, but they're not Cup level talents. And I kind of look at, where he was at in Xfinity and where he was at in trucks, and I think, well, if he probably would be in a good ride in one of those two series, I think he could do really well. But I mean, it's cutthroat in the Cup Series, and I don't think that he could. I don't know. Part of me wants to say, well, the 9 team, didn't really care. They didn't really bring their best. They weren't concerned about it because they're going to get chased back in a week at a track you could win at anyway. But I just think sometimes, you gotta do or die. I mean, you gotta show up and not to praise Bubba too much, but I think about 2017 when he got his shot in the 43. And he ran pretty good at Pocono. I think he finished in the top 20 somewhere in that. And the car right around that car normally would run anyway. And they went to Kentucky. I guess it was the next week or the week after that. And I mean, he damn near had a top 10 in that car. with like 2 or 3 Cup stars under his belt, and that was a lot of pressure for him because at this point in time he didn't even know where his career was going to go. And again, not to be pro Bub or anything, but I'm just using that as a reference. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I certainly hate that for Corey. I'm sure he hates it for himself, and I wanted that to go better for him. Just to get a top 15 or a top 10, it would have been cool to see. But hey, it is what it is. But yeah, I'm hopeful that Carson's part of silly season that he goes somewhere. I'm hoping the Xfinity Series, but because there's not a good Cup ride that's going to open up that he can really show his talent in, and I don't want him to get stuck in that trap of like he's in Cup but he's not in Cup. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't want him to have to end up like John Hunter Nemechek and pull a John Hunter Nemechek.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
but John Hunter Nemechek actually rebounded and actually got wins and trucks in Xfinity. So I'll say that though, in my opinion.
it's not to get off topic, but John Hunter knew, and that the '95 car wasn't taking him anywhere quickly. So he definitely made the right moves to go back down, win more races, get more experience, move back up, and to gain himself hopefully a better Toyota ride.
No,
Which
not to cut you off, but John Hunter actually drove for Front Row Motorsports. Christopher
that's
Bell the
right.
Yeah,
one.
he was in the
Chris,
38.
That's right. Yeah, he was in the 38.
yeah, Christopher Bell the one drove the 95 car.
Yeah, and they actually had a surprisingly good start to the year in that 38. I think he got a top 10 like in the first couple of races, and then it all fell apart from there. But just to kind of depart for a second, let's talk about that specifically, about John Hunter real quick, not to derail too much. So earlier this week, uh, Pockers had asked Kyle Busch about John Hunter, and I don't know the context. It actually may have been a week or two ago at Charlotte. I just saw the clip, and and Kyle Busch said, as long as he's got the money, I think he'll have a ride at Gibbs. Do you guys think, I look at John Hunter now. He's winning races in the Xfinity Series. He's run good there the last couple of years. He's won races in trucks. Certainly, is more successful his second time around coming up the ranks than his first time around. Coming from his dad's team to what I think it was with the Ganassi ride, the 42, and then the 23 with GMS. Do you guys think that all of this has prepared him to step into maybe a third 2311 car or maybe a Gibbs car next year and perform at the level of Christopher Bell and Ty Gibbs and even maybe Denny Hamlin or Martin Truex Jr.? I don't know who's going to be out at Gibbs next year, but I would be willing to bet money we go to Daytona in 24 and that lineup is not the same as it is right now.
I think he'll stay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I said I'll think he stay for like another year. Just if you want to like go after for another title and stuff and to see that he actually ready. But if he wanted to I'll say not gonna say JGR 311 racing, nah, kind of not. So I'll say at the end of next year, yeah.
Yeah, I think it just depends on what's available. Do you feel confident being the fourth JGR car? What does that look like? What does that team look like? Is 2311 going to be ready to take on a third car full time by that point? Does that fit in with their timeline? I mean, I don't know, but that would be a really appealing spot to me as a driver. So I think it really just depends on where you go because, like you said, he's already been at the Cup level. He's gotten experience. It wasn't the best situation for him. Gone back down and is now trying to rebound. But I don't think you're going to get a third crack at the Cup Series if you're John Hunter. So is it worth waiting a year just to find something that's perfect for you versus settling for something that might not be ideal?
I mean, they are building a pretty new race shop for 2311. They already have the third car that's going to be running here again, in a few weeks when we go to the Indy Road Course. But you gotta remember, next year, Legacy's joining the Toyota ranks. Does Jimmy say, let's get it, and try and get a third charter? Realizing that there is some up and coming talent in the Toyota ranks, and they want to keep their drivers program moving forward. Does TRD say which one of y'all want to get number 3 and open a third bay?
Yeah, I could.
Yeah,
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah. I was about to say that is right now, outside of let's say Martin Truex and that third spot at 2311, options are pretty limited. But with Legacy Motorsport joining the Toyota family, I think that's probably another route that I say if again if Jimmy sees more in Nemechek, maybe open up the 84 to him for a full cup ride. Given just again his given I know is like his first go around in the cup wasn't pretty, but he worked his way back up through the trucks and the Xfinity, and is pretty much telling everyone like, hey, I deserve to be here. So now I think, and also I don't think Toyota would want to let this go. They've let go so many talented drivers. They are looking at John Hunter and it's like that's someone we want riding our cars for the foreseeable future, outside of like Ty and Tyler Reddick.
Yeah. Bonte, are you finna say something?
No, no.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just say I continually forget that Legacy is going to Toyota next year. I forget that Legacy is even around. The same way I kind of forget about Colleague a little bit, because unfortunately, we're in the second year of this car, and just like with the Gen 6 and just like with the COT, usually after the first 24 races with the new car, the leading teams emerge and the secondary teams kind of fall back. So that's what we're seeing right now, I think. But yeah, I mean, I think the money is there. I think Toyota has enough of the business to business deals in place that they could probably find the money to put John Hunter in the Cup Series next year. I think a third seat at Legacy would be great, or even a second seat if a certain individual in a car that ends with 2 that's at Legacy right now doesn't end up there next year. I know he's, but yeah, I mean, I think that Toyota would be really, really, really stupid to let John go. I think he's spent the time, he's done the work, he's honed his skills in, and I think that if he went to an organization like, I don't know, hell, RCR, Trackhouse, even Stewart Haas Racing, despite them being as lost as they are right now, it would be another. I mean, they would, it would be a loss for Toyota, right? I mean, honestly. So, but yeah, but speaking of Jimmy Johnson, so we just finished. Le Mans finished this morning. And I think the Garage 56 Camaro finished like 39th out of like 60 something cars, so halfway through the field. Um, I gotta say, just side note, and I love and I hate to say this because I was the biggest Johnson hater during like that era of dominance. It's kind of sad that I looked at that driver lineup and I was going into the race yesterday, and I was like, man, I hope Jimmy Johnson crashed his car because 10 years ago I probably would have never even remotely thought that would have been a possibility. If 10 years ago he would have run in the same circumstance, I'd have been like, yeah, he probably is going to lap the field or something. But whatever, people get older, they age and whatever. But that thing was great to watch, and in an age of NASCAR making really questionable marketing decisions, and I know this wasn't really their decision; it was kind of Hendrick's deal, but for them to push and promo that, yeah, I think this was a huge win for NASCAR, and I hope and I pray that they allow that entry to grow into something where maybe we see other manufacturers involved in endurance racing with that platform. I think that would be a blast to have Even if it's just for like the 24 and for Le Mans or Daytona, I think that'd be really awesome. So, but yeah, that was super cool to see, and I'm glad it made it through most of the 24 without an issue too.
Yeah, to see that beauty on the legendary track is just fantastic. Hap, very, that very happy that 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 NASCAR got gets to do that. Um, I hope in future, I hope in the future. Oh, I found the tweet right here. So Adam Stern had talked about this right like 32 minutes ago. Said NASCAR Le Mans entry is one part of his expanding global plans. Wait, sorry. Basically, making trips all over the world, recently evaluation opportunities and religion, like in the Middle East. Ben Kitty himself said he's already starting to think about the 2025, 2026, and 2027 schedule. I think it's like Le Mans. I think, but yeah, in the future, that would be cool.
Yeah, from my side, I was just terrified that it would blow up in like 2 hours. That was my one fear, just because this was so new. I was like, please let this car go out, have a good showing. And I mean, I think this is about as amazing an outcome as you could hope for this being your first year. I know they had, I think, one issue and they spent maybe 40 minutes or so, maybe an hour off track. But
Gearbox.
yeah, for the gearbox. So considering that was the only hiccup they had, and to come home where they did, I think this was a huge success. I agree. Like, I would love to see other teams join, and if there's a Chevy, Toyota, and a Ford car in the field, I think you could get a lot of the competitive juices flowing between the big three manufacturers, going after each other in something that's NASCAR related, but not directly on a NASCAR track or in a NASCAR setting. And the car looked great. It sounded great. I'm sure they got a lot of eyes on the product, so I'm sure NASCAR as a whole has to be thrilled about it.
Yeah, my mouth is watering at the thought of, next Speed Weeks, 24 Hours of Daytona. There's the Chevrolet, a Toyota, and a Ford running the 24 Hours of Daytona leading up to, Speed Weeks for NASCAR. I think that would be absolutely nuts. Still wish the Daytona race course was on the schedule because I had a blast watching that. I think we should put the Clash back there personally, not send them all the way to LA, but it would be amazing to see that car and the other OEM variants of it run the 24 Hours of Daytona. That would be sick.
I'll say this though. Yeah, if Garage 56 will run it, the Rolex 24 will be fantastic. Yeah, like you said, sets up speed weeks and stuff, and the Clash. If ever they go back to Daytona, that would have been phenomenal. I'll say hopefully like other brands, other teams could join in on it. I know Ford can't because Ford got their own Mustang can't coming out because they made a statement about it. But yeah, so excited for that.
Yeah, I think just overall, this whole Garage 56 is like, I pray this is not like a one and done. And just given what was just said, gives me a little bit more hope that we'll see more of Garage 56. Because again, I think overall, I think this was a success for just not just for Hendrix, but for NASCAR in terms of marketing worldwide. Trying to have some worldwide eyeballs of the sport. Especially, I know on Twitter when they were doing their photos of every car on the main straight, and you just see a big blue NASCAR, just Camaro, just standing out with almost every other car in the class being like looking like a toy car, pretty much, which was hilarious. But hopefully, I think I hope other manufacturers come in to try to do something like this. I know for Toyota, I think that would have been all. I think Toyota used Lamar, especially for NASCAR, to announce Kamui to race in Indy. And I thought, that was smart. That was pretty good. Capitalize on what you already got going, and hopefully we'll see more of this in the near future.
Last thing I want to touch up on with this whole car. I heard it was like faster than was like the LMP2 or GT3. It was one of them though.
There was a clip of them speeding past the LMP2. I think I saw it
Hmm.
like before I
That is
joined it.
so funny.
Before I joined it, I
Yeah,
saw a clip. Yeah, it
That
was
is so
hilarious.
hilarious. Because so just to pick up where Bonte left off on this. I remember when they announced this last year. A lot of people scoffed about it, and I think we even NASCAR fans were like, "Why are you doing this? You have a car that does not work, and you're taking this car internationally racing on like one of the biggest motorsports events of the year." But the right organization led that. I mean, I think nobody better than Hendrick Motorsports could have and Chevy could have put that together. And I'll say I know for a fact it was a success. I know it had a lot of eyes on it. A lot of people were interested in it, and it was a lot of great exposure for NASCAR because the European racing fans all across Twitter were pressed like a panini. They were so furious about this car, about Jimmy Johnson, about Jenson Button. I saw tweets about, how Jenson Button, wasn't ever really a good driver. He just hopped in a good cars. I saw people were saying Jimmy Johnson could only turn left, despite him being really good on road courses in his prime. I saw people calling it a publicity stunt, a clown, stuff like that. I think that's great. I think creating this rivalry of what is traditional global endurance racing, and we have not seen a lot of U.S. involvement. I mean, we saw the Ford GTE program and the Corvettes and stuff like that, but for something as bald eagle like Budweiser American flag skull
In your
cap
face,
in your
American.
face
like
American as
America,
as
barbecue
as
grill
that
America.
car to be have that level of success, I think is fantastic, and I pray that Ben Kennedy and everybody looks at that and they say we need to keep this, we need to continue to use this platform to branch out, and hopefully that allows the actual Cup Series to go to international venues because we got a little bit extra time, and I wanted to bring this up before we talk about our last topic. Um, it got mentioned this week that we might be going back to Montreal, maybe as early as next year. I think personally the Cup Series is missing something, and I don't know what it is. I don't think a venue can fix the Cup Series problem, but it can sure as hell help. And so if they want to go to Montreal or back to Mexico or international, I think and do a standalone race with no support series, so you don't have guys going down and messing up. I think that would be fantastic, and I really hope that that comes to fruition.
Before you guys talk about that, I just remembered something about the whole Lamar. I think one of the commentators said that this result ties, I think, with the highest that an experimental car finished. If
Oh wow.
my memory serves me correct, because I
Yeah,
remember they were talking about if they finished 38th, that would have been the highest.
Oh man, that's awesome.
And
Yeah,
it was the second Garage 56 entry to finish the race as well.
yeah.
And
hmm
all the times a Garage 56 entry has been done, which is also pretty nuts to say that, a NASCAR stock car lasted 23 hours and 20 minutes. Pretty
yeah.
nuts.
Then, yeah. But not only that, I think he had posted like the fastest lap out of all cars over like 4 seconds. So that's insane.
Yeah, absolutely.
America power, baby. Let's go. In your face, America.
Right, barbecue grill.
And to go back to your point about like expansion, you see the NFL doing that a lot in the last couple of years, right? So they've gone to Mexico, they go to Canada, they've gone to London, they're going to Germany. Like that's the way to get new eyes. And because of various factors, you might feel that there's only so much juice you can squeeze out of the US audience at this point. So finding other places might be the way to go. And I think you're right. Like just having a chance to show something different. I think it'd be great to see NASCAR on the road. Like they had the race in Japan, back in the '90s, which looks crazy now, and I would just love to see something like that happen today.
And then keep in mind, this is like the first time in 47 years since like NASCAR completed in the Le Mans. I may be wrong, but it's one of those. Yeah.
Yeah, Donnelly, I think, and somebody else ran. I think it was a Charger back. They ran Le Mans. I think like this mid '70s or something like that, like number 90. I can't remember all of it specifically.
It was a Charger, and I think it was a Ford. One was a Dodge, and one was a Ford. If
Yes,
I think.
right. Yeah, Donnelly was in the Ford. I don't forget who took the Charger over there.
Okay.
But yeah, so yeah, but back to the other point about thinking about NASCAR at Suzuka. I mean that was a great deal. I think it was received really well. I mean, and we still talk about that, and I think that there is a lot that could be gained from doing something like that again. Something's got to be done because it's just like we they're adding these new venues, this experimental stuff, Chicago Street Race and the LA Coliseum, and a lot of fans are lukewarm about them. But I think let's stop trying to reinvent the wheel. Let's just make the wheel bigger. Let's go somewhere where we haven't gone, and let's put on a show in another town, and we'll go from there. I think is the better direction to go. If we can't fix this car, then let's make the show better.
I agree. There's like, me personally, I never saw Montreal and Mexico on TV, so I can't say nothing about that. But I really hope they expand not not just in the U.S. but like in for like international. That would like that will literally help NASCAR bring in more fans and bring in more popularity into the sport, like how F1 is doing, going to different go obviously they're international because they're different tracks and stuff. But in NASCAR, if NASCAR would do that, it will it'll be amazing. Even if different, even if other tracks in the U.S. that NASCAR can go to, like Milwaukee Mile, yeah, I said it. Um, that would have been fantastic. But yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. Any other thoughts about the last couple things there?
Um, it's I again I haven't seen Montreal or Mexico on TV. I know for Montreal, I can't remember. I saw clips and highlights of like the famous one with Harvick. And what's his
Right.
name? I'm blanking out, but
Robbie Gordon.
yeah, Robbie Gordon and all yeah, that. I just see that as like legendary clips of like, oh yeah, this happened. You wouldn't believe how or why it happened, but I think going international is appealing, especially to expand your brand. I think NASCAR will hugely benefit it now, and we've seen the success with Lamar. I know I don't want to bring it back to Lamar, but given the success with how we are, I think it's possible we could probably go international for an expedition. Like go to either what Brands Hatch, Fuji, or Suzuka to like build some like an audience outside of like North America, and I feel like that could be a good way to look at it. I know the issue with travel and cost may play in the factor with a lot, but let's see where if we do commit to Montreal, let's see where it can go.
Right. Yeah, I mean absolutely. And for those that didn't watch it, Montreal and Mexico, when we ran those two tracks, put on a show. I think we went to Montreal. I think it was '06, '07, '08, if I'm not mistaken. And then they went. I mean, Mexico. And then we went to Montreal 2007 to 2012. I think was the last year that they went. It may have been 13. I can't really remember, but um, no, it was 12. But yeah, Montreal put on a show every year. I mean, it was great racing. It was just the right amount of good racing and absolute chaos, and it never disappointed. I think every year there was a super good finish. There was Boris Ed winning in the Rab car in '09. There was 2008, I think, where Carl Edwards overshot the last corner. Hit the curb and Pappas went by him. Was that Pappas or was it somebody else? I don't remember. But anyway, but yeah, it'll be awesome to go back there and I hope that works out. And I think that's honestly I've been looking to travel international. I think that'd be a race I'd even want to go to too. So that's cool. But in light of kind of some bad news we've been all talking about with various things through this, some good news is that today was this is the last Fox broadcast for the year. Um, and I know like they were making comments toward the end there. I think the last 10 or so laps, they were like, yeah, this is the last 10 laps for the Fox broadcast this year. And even then, McMurray and Boyer and I can't think of what's the other broadcaster's name.
Mike Joy.
Mike Joy. We're still talking over each other. I'll tell you what. I've never been more excited for the summer series to get here. And I used to love Fox's coverage and hate everybody else's. But this year has just been miserable. And I don't know. I mean, if they don't want it anymore, then just let NBC have it the whole year. Because I mean, it's just this year has been just dreadful to watch and listen to with Fox's coverage.
Fox has been
Yeah.
off. Fox has. Oh, sorry about that, boss. I was gonna say Fox has been off of for like the last 2 years, especially 2022, with too much commercial with the Daytona 500. It Boyer. I'm sorry, but Boyer is hell of annoying. Cannot stand him. I'll say this: bringing other drivers is cool. I like that though, but like, it just the coverage is so awful. I don't know what's going on because keep in mind, like Carl, you said, I used to love Fox. Literally every February, I used to be excited for that. But like right now, it's not fun no more. I'm not. Yeah, it's not fun. Then it's kind of trash. Now I hope things will change next season because if not, I do not want Fox to do NASCAR no more. Just give it to NBC a call a day.
Yeah, it's really frustrating. Like the mix, I feel like just isn't great in the booth right now. One thing I saw someone point out a while back was that it's really hard if you're constantly rotating a new person in just because you can't build continuity and reps with that person. It might have been a Mike Joy interview, but it's just challenging because you guys as play-by-play and analysts in the booth, like you learn to read off each other, and you know now when to jump in and when to fade back out and when to pass the baton back and forth. And it's hard when you don't have that. I think that's why, Mike and DW, along with Larry Mack, like they were such a good trio for so long, is that they just had great chemistry and they had that balance of play-by-play announcer, driver, crew chief. And I would love to see them get back to that balance. I don't know who would be the best person to fill in for that third seat, but it just doesn't feel like it's a great mix. I love Clint as a personality, but I don't know if being in the booth is the best fit for him. I feel like he needs to have like a Michael Waltrip role where like he's with the fans, he's talking to the drivers, he's making people laugh. Like he just seems like he's got all this energy. And when a lot of times that can be great, but in the booth for, a 3-hour race, that might not be the best place for it. And then like on the production side too, like it's just been really, really frustrating if like the scoring is off or you'll have a great side by side battle and they'll cut to the in-car camera of someone, half a straightaway away. It's just really frustrating. And there's too many shots of kids. If anyone from Fox is listening, you gotta lay off those shots of kids in the crowd. Like, we don't need that. And there's 30 of them per race, and it's just aggravating. It's really frustrating.
That was pissing me off every time. I'm sorry.
Don't get me wrong. It is cute seeing kids that they're watching their favorite drivers race, but it does get repetitive and
Yeah,
it's like 1 or 2 or 3 shots of kids it's fine, but when you do like 10, 20 shots, almost every time you come back from commercial break, there's a shot of a kid. Before you go to a commercial break, there's a shot of a kid. It starts to get
yeah. I mean, there was one race,
repetitively annoying.
There was one race this year where they went back. I wish I could remember. They went back to the same kid at least 3 times, and I was like, "Oh, there he is." You know, he's in like a Larson shirt or something. I was like, "You could show anything else. You could show the cars maybe as you go to commercial. I don't know, like crazy idea, but that's just it's so frustrating. And it seems like they could make very small changes and have huge outputs from it, and would really improve the broadcast. Um, yeah, it's just like a lot of the decisions they make just really don't make sense.
I just think they just stagnated because I know growing up, again, I think I was like you guys. It's like I used to love watching it on Fox. I know I probably stepped away when I got into middle school, but then when I got back like junior year of high school, I started slowly coming in, and I noticed there were some changes. It's like, okay, this is kind of weird, but I'll manage. But then it just each year just gradually got worse to the point it's like, okay, I just can't wait to flip on Peacock to watch a NASCAR race or flip on NBC because the commentary is 10 times better.
Just to wrap it up with a bow, personally, I think what has drawn me to F1 more than the Drive to Survive series, that definitely threw a lightning bolt into it. But it's flag to flag coverage. It's uninterrupted. It's the race the entire time. And F1 also has like marketing partners like NASCAR does, and they advertise throughout the track. DHL, the fuel that they use, a couple other their corporate sponsors, all of their billboards and marketing is laid out across the track. NASCAR should be able to do the same thing. We have the Geico restart, Xfinity's in there, Coca-Cola's in there, their broadcast ties that in, but there has to be some way we can incorporate the sponsors getting their marketing in, the network getting their marketing dollars for showing, the sponsors, but it not interrupting race coverage. It's the biggest race of the year. It's the Daytona 500, and in my mind, there was more time on my TV looking at Geico commercials than I was actually watching the race. And in this day and age where everybody's going streaming, everybody's going digital, there has to be a way you can do that better. Like you have to be able to do it better. Just be like NBC. I mean, not NBC, on ESPN. ESPN has a ticker during whatever broadcast or telecast that they're showing that shows all the sports scores and all that stuff. You should be able to advertise on the bottom of the screen and give me 3/4 of my race broadcast. But it's not for them. They're over with. I'm interested to see how Harvick jumps in the booth next year with Clinton, Mike Joy, and Larry Mack. Hopefully, they find out a dynamic. Hopefully, Fox has a real, um, hard look at themselves this past few months of the season, just because I feel like everybody tore them down on social media. It felt like so. Hopefully, they'll get their act together for next year so we can have an enjoyable 500. But I'm excited to see NBC take over. Really excited to see how they're going to do the Chicago Street Course and see how the reduction is going to be laid out for that. So I think the best times are coming for us NASCAR fans with NBC coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really looking forward to whenever we get to talk about the Chicago Road Course, even if I'm not here for that, because I am so excited for it to be just the most uneventful weekend period in front of all the boomers that are like, oh, you're gonna need an armored car to do the race, or whatever. But that's just a little side note. Um, yeah, as far as Clint Boyer goes, because that's been like kind of a highlight for everybody this year. I'll tell you what, we went to North Wilkesboro a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks, 4 weeks ago, however long it was, and there was that clip that went around Twitter where you could tell he was frustrated when they changed cameras. He was trying to show everybody something, it didn't work, whatever. What Clint Boyer is doing is the same thing they did with DW toward the end, which is they are trying to find a driver to be a comic relief character. It's not funny to constantly have somebody dunking on Clint like, oh, you weren't even a good of a driver, and for Clint to try to be like this silly redneck type of guy is just not great, and it's a terrible production choice on whoever is writing this or producing this or whatever, because when Clint really talks racing, it's fantastic, but those moments are few and far in between. The rest of it is insufferable. The commercials are terrible. I will never drink Coke Zero in my life because of how many times I had to watch that commercial this year. And
I need to try it
oh
first.
man, it drives me insane. And Fox has to know people are pissed off at them for Mike Joy to have been chirped up on Twitter for like 3 weeks about the commercials from the 500. So there's that. What I would love to see, above all else, and I believe Baraka mentioned it or somebody else mentioned it, as far as like how F1 does their productions. I don't think we can ever get to a commercialless broadcast unless we shorten the race lengths, which I'm okay for the most part. But what I would love to see, NASCAR has been behind the 8 ball on streaming for a long time now. I would love to see them do what F1 does and just let you watch the races when you pay an annual subscription fee, like F1 TV or whatever the case may be. I think NASCAR could benefit a lot from, building a content platform around a NASCAR TV kind of deal. You pay, I don't know, $65, $75 a year to watch the races, or I mean, Flow TV even does it. I think a lot of people would move to that because I got to be honest, it is a pain in the ass to try to watch. And I didn't mean to cuss, but try to watch anything if you're on the go. If you're not like in front of your TV at home, watching a race is really hard to do. So I hope they do something like that. But
I'll say
yeah,
this though.
yeah, go ahead.
For IndyCar, so like even if you want to go at home, IndyCar has Peacock, their streaming service and stuff. So like if you don't have cable, you can always watch Peacock, and that's why I appreciate IndyCar for that. I just wish that NASCAR will find something, which kind of they are, because having the deal rights with Amazon to bring in Xfinity, that's like the rumor is. I'm assuming. But if NASCAR were bringing like had their own streaming services, like NASCAR TV to pay like $60, $70 a year, that would have been perfect because at times we all work and stuff. Obviously, we can't we can't keep up with the races stuff besides Twitter. But like if NASCAR have like a streaming services, I would have been okay with that.
Yeah, I would totally be willing to pay, you know, $200 if you could tell me we're gonna give you every race, no commercials. We're gonna give you practice, we'll give you qualifying, um, and we'll throw in like if they made like a NASCAR app or like a NASCAR streaming service, and like this is a big ask, but if, like they had their own standalone thing, and you could say, all right, we're gonna give you that, we're gonna give you all the old documentaries and like the back catalog of races, and you can just watch them on demand. Like I would love for something like that. If I was just looking at the yearly, the race season, like I would pay $200 just to be able to watch them in HD, take it on an app on my phone, or have it on like a smart TV and take it on the go. Like I think that would be amazing because yeah, the commercials are really terrible. And I understand from a marketing, from a business side, like you have to have sponsors, but do side by sides maybe like do those more. I don't know what the solution is, but like it's just not sustainable in 2023 to continue to have advertising like you did in 2001. Like it's just not gonna work. People don't want it.
The one thing I'll give credit NASCAR, the one thing I'll give NASCAR credit for is like every Monday or Tuesday they'll put their races on YouTube. I'll give them that credit, but other than that, that's it.
I mean, if you look at F1, like I signed up for F1 TV this year because I just like how they're conscious of you. When you open the F1 app, if you miss practice or if you miss qualifying, they're like, hey, before I show you these results, do you want to go back and watch it for yourself, or do you want me to show you to it? And then obviously with the streaming of the race, you can watch like the Sky Sports commentary telecast, or you can watch the F1 TV commentary telecast. So like you're watching the same race, but you automatically get two different points of view and two different optimisms and thoughts and opinions on the race and race strategy and interviews and things of that nature. I just like in the digital world and NASCAR is bickering with the teams about the next TV deal. They should heavily consider how to make themselves more digitally marketable so it doesn't interfere with the race broadcast.
Yeah, I was gonna say to bring F1 into this, like if F1 can manage to find a way to put an entire race commercial free while still appealing to the advertisers that are paying to advertise their brand, surely NASCAR could figure that out too. And it's like even if let's say it's through an existing streaming partner like Prime or Peacock, you can make it commercial free. It's not that it shouldn't be that difficult, or like they should read the room that in today's day and age is like streaming. People, the reason why people stream is to like avoid these type of commercials and all that, and they're still putting commercials on like when it's unnecessary. Like what Daytona most of the time was on commercial, and you hear the whole "I like to try it first" or a Geico commercial or something. It starts to get annoying, and it turns fans away from your sport. It's like it's doing the one thing you don't want to happen. So hopefully next year they'll figure something out.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I think NASCAR is aware of the problem. I mean, you've got Denny Hamlin who's been, very vocal about, we need a new deal. You've had the fans that have been very vocal about we don't enjoy the product that we're watching, both the production quality and the racing product. I mean, the pressure's on for NASCAR to deliver on a number of fronts. There we go. Um, and I am confident that they are going to find a resolution that works. I don't know if they're in a position to give us a resolution that we deserve. Two different things. But I do want to say we're at 115 here, and we have an off weekend next weekend, right? Are any series racing, or is it just Cup that's taking a hiatus next weekend?
Um, it just cup because IndyCar is at Road America, and I
F1's in
think
Montreal.
Right.
yeah,
I meant for NASCAR. Was one of the trucks or Xfinity Series doing anything? I didn't think so.
nah.
Okay. So they go to Nashville in a couple weeks, and we can talk about that then. Uh, Bonte, where's IndyCar gonna be at?
Road America, Wisconsin.
Okay, that'll be cool to watch.
Sure.
Because the F1 probably is not going to be fun to watch. I mean, it'll be fun to Montreal is always a blast, but I would be willing to bet $5 right now that it's probably going to be a Verstappen pole and win once again. So
Unfortunately,
yeah. So in any case, any final thoughts from anybody else?
we got all of this though. We got some cooking in the future with this podcast. Yes, sir.
Oh, absolutely. This has been a great first episode. I just yeah, I wanted to make sure we get it wrapped up with a bow. If anybody had any last words to put out there.
Just really looking forward to the second half of the season. I think NBC is gonna they do a really great job playing up the playoffs, playing up the championship. And we're this is a Pro Bubba podcast. I think these next 4 weeks will be very telling of this 23 team to see if we can either get over the hump and get us a checkered flag before the playoffs start, or if we really kick it into high gear and see if we can't climb some standings, knock out some top fives again, and get hot and point our way in and see what we can do in the playoffs. A lot of favorable tracks for him come chase time, so it'll be interesting something to see for sure.
I'll
A
say
lot
this.
more content coming.
Yeah, for sure. I'll say this though. For Bubba, yeah, like last year, the summer Bubba. Let's hope let's hope it's the same way how last summer was with him, with the consistent top five, top tens. I mean, he already was on a roll and back in May, but let's looking forward to my boy. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's like right now, second half of the season, like one of my friends who loves soccer, I'm a soccer fan too, and the saying is when it's time to show up, it's like it's squeaky bum time. Not just for Bubba, but there's a lot of drivers that you would think are in the hunt for the playoffs that may may still have the points or don't have the points to qualify for the playoffs. It's like it's now or never. It's time to show up, show out, to really push for a win to get yourself in the playoffs and then fight for the championship. So it's going to be an eventful one. I hope the second half is going to be exciting and eventful for a number of these drivers that are still trying to fight their way into the playoffs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I feel like you have to like think that a win is gonna be necessary. There's a lot of good drivers who haven't won. Chase is still out there. Bowman can steal a win very easily. There's a lot of really good guys out there. Suarez is another one who can win. I'm worried about having to point your way in because we could easily see them end up with 16 winners, and you could have all the points in the world, no wins, and be out.
that would be the kind of luck that 23 has. But I am confident. I think that they are as focused as they've ever been. I think that they know what works and what doesn't work. Unfortunately, we have a summer full of road courses, so that I mean we've got to live through. But we've got Indy, we've got Watkins Glen, we've got Chicago, and I mean that's probably a third of the summer makeup. So we've got to be really careful there, if not more. But I'm confident that we'll either point our way in or win our way in. I think there's some good opportunities between now and then. Um, and yeah, I'm excited for the second half of the season. I'm excited for silly season to kick off, hopefully here in the next 3 or 4 weeks. Excited for the schedule announcements coming up this summer. I think that'll be great talking points when that happens. And excited and hopeful that Mercedes figures the damn car out at some point this year. But besides that, this has been a awesome first episode, and we are going to work as hard as we can to bring this bring this out on a pretty consistent basis. Maybe with a different group of individuals, but we're going to be here. And again, you could have been anywhere else in the world, but you're listening to us for the last hour and nearly a half, and we really appreciate that. You can also find us on Twitter at VL Vibes Podcast, all one word. Victory Lane Vibes. But for now, we're going to bid you adieu and have a great night. Thank y'all so much for listening.